Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to this week's MBTV news, formerly known as Metaworld news, and possibly future to be known as Metaworld news, because nobody's ever made their mind up around here. What's going on? Especially me. However, we bring you the news from virtual worlds and immersive spaces online. Some of the subcategories of what is now called the metaverse. Or it's a one thing, by the way. There is a metaverse, right? It's not multiple metaverses. Well, maybe meta galaxies and meta worlds and things, but only one metaverse. Um, it means one sort of thing, the one verse. Well, that's the universe, but besides that, um, but I'm going to use the word because it's very hard to get away from it now, especially as we're involved with things that are using the word. And just because they're using the word, the origin of the word comes mostly from the novel Snow Crash, and I think most people we know and we use that origin when they're referring to the metaverse as opposed to the personal definition offered by some players. I will leave it at that for now. I'm also going to try and avoid the rabbit holes. When we finished a 2 hour slot last week, or 2.5 hour, I realised just how much time I had spent down rabbit holes and how much of it was actually rather dark, despite the fact I was laughing. So we're focusing on the news and what is commonly called the open metaverse, the open source metaverse, all the tools, haptics, and platforms that will come together to interconnect and operate. And nothing, no reason to say there can't be certain commercial things going on a interoperative, if that's the word, Metaworld platform. But the idea is common standards, and a bit like the web. If Tim Berners-Lee hadn't built the web on top of the internet, we wouldn't have web pages and the web we know today. Metaverse needs to be built also on top of something like the well, probably the internet, because that is the backbone system that connects us all together. So we need common protocols and stuff like that. And unless they're open and interoperative, like HTML was, it's never going to happen. We're just going to get thousands of small little corners of the internet. That, oh, that's one of those old 3D worlds, isn't it? Oh, that one, that's got that stuff they used to use called blockchain. Or Bitcoin. Didn't that the one? Isn't that the one that predated the megadollar or something? Who knows? Who knows where it's going? That is the point. Anyway, to get on with the show, my name is Mal Burns. Mal is the first word, or first name. Burns is the second. But like most people on the web, whenever you go to find me, you'll find me squashed. I know. Lemming culture, isn't it? Or sardine culture is probably more appropriate. I don't like being squashed, but I'm learning to live with it. For the last 15 years, I've been on Twitter. Maybe longer. I was a beta tester. But anyway, they made me use the name Mal Burns, Malburns, squashed into one. So if you want to find me on Twitter, go to twitter.com/malburns, Malburns. And therein you will find the links to all the things I'm going to talk about on this show today, plus many others that have accumulated through the week. We also have a Twitter feed for this show, which is a bit more sparse, just includes virtual world platforms, and that is twitter.com/metaworldnews. And you can even go to twitter.com and find malburns_writer. Now and again.
Haven't mentioned that for a while. Yeah.
I haven't mentioned that for a while. No, that is the avatar that it shares destinations and arts information from the walled garden world of Second Life. We're based in OpenSim, which is like a distant cousin of Second Life and open source. But we used to be in Second Life too. Still are a bit, so there's a bit of overlap. Anyway, I'm also joined here by James Atlloud, who is fiddling with his knobs as usual. Welcome, James.
Oh, thank you, Mal. It's good to be a Sunday playing with the knobs. I know
Indeed.
everything's well with the world.
Indeed. Well, the knobs in question are video knobs and audio knobs and broadcast knobs, basically putting the whole package together so that you can see my avatar from multiple angles, you can see my desktop, and you can see films we play and all sorts of stuff. So James is doing that, and occasionally he does actually have a spare moment to talk as well.
Occasionally, yep.
Occasionally, yes, indeed. Okay, so I'll welcome to James there, and yeah, let's get on with it. As we say, um, I'm going to open with some pictures I got on standby here. I'll show them all at once, describe what they are, and then they'll be done. That'll be one part out of the way. So the first, oh, sorry, I should mention today's date.
Oh yeah.
These are this. We're live today, and it is. God, hang on. I did name it at the channel, but oh, I can't find this stuff anymore. Is it the 15th today? Something like that.
It's the 14th.
Oh, it's the 14th.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So yeah, well, that was a good start, wasn't it?
Yep.
So these are things for the week ending, the 14th of August already, of the grand year 2022. So just in case you're puzzled there, and of course we are live on that very date. Okay, talking about dates, the first picture I've got up is basically an ad for once for something I go to every week. This is on Wednesdays. This particular one is August 17th. It's at 4 in the afternoon Universal Time, which is 5 here in the UK, and in fact it's actually, if I got it right, it's 6 in the nearest bit of Europe. So UTC is Universal Time Clock, which is the same as Greenwich Mean Time, but because we're in summer, it's not a real time anyway. If you see what I mean. Anyway, so that's on Wednesday afternoon here in Europe at least, and let me see, 5. It's 9 o'clock in the morning in Pacific time, so you everybody's in between there somewhere. It's a meeting of the OMI group. Now, this is a weekly meeting, and it's a really roundup sort of thing about what devs are doing about the Open Metaverse. So, Open Metaverse Initiative is what OMI stands for. They're now connected with some of the other things for the Open Metaverse that have started, and the Kronos group. We're kind of involved with everything, really. There's a great collaboration feeling going there. But also OMI itself has a lot of subgroups. Some are working on interface, some are working on scripting languages, some are working on platforms and just methods of interoperating and things. People like Eva Kenning are working on communications parts of it. Then there's people like Adam Frisby who are working on scripting things. But usually, if there's anything important and happened in one of the main sort of groups, then the working group itself gives an update on the Wednesday meeting. So the Wednesday meeting is really the weekly town hall, as they often say for these things. So everybody is welcome to come. You need to be in Discord. But you can also go to omigroup.org. You see at the bottom there to get all the information to link into Discord and wherever you need to be. There's also a GitHub, but the GitHub bit of it, and there's a couple of other platforms that are used. They're actually broadcast into Discord while you're watching. So as long as you're in Discord, you get to see all the different threads, screencast into the Discord group. Okay, so plug for that, and as I say, the next one is up on Wednesday the 17th. It does happen every week. It's now they've now been having weekly meetings for well over a year. I think they're on their 60th now or something. Yeah, but I don't think one has been missed yet. So there you go. Okay, so enough plugging for them. I'll be back to them, I'm sure, on a regular basis. Moving on. Between Realities, a show we link to quite often, is actually on its vacation at the moment, and one of those vacations was a convention they went to in the week. And as you can probably tell from the t-shirts, assorted shapes of t-shirts, I should say, except for a lady in the front here who isn't wearing one. No, tut you. She's an individualistic person. She's not wearing Between Realities uniform. Good on her. Right, okay, so they're showing themselves off there, Skiva and the other chap there, and all their little team they had at the convention. This is not, and I'll be coming to it in a minute, the SIGGRAPH convention. This is more of a gaming convention, but that's where they've been in the week. And there's the guys from Between Realities who you know. And actually, well, that's why they're guests, but these are the two people behind there. And yeah, I'm trying to I can't remember the name of the actual conference. It's there somewhere. Anyway, moving down because from the picture bit. Sorry. Okay, this is neither of the conferences. This is just XP World, EXP World. This is a screenshot from Vibella, right, where it was held, and they have made a point about raving about how many people attended this one. As you can see from the way the photograph goes back and back and back, it goes for a long way, but it's very cartoony and all that. But I did notice, much to my astonishing, one very big difference. I think this is a newer version of Vibella than came out fairly recently. They've got a few extra areas you can go to, and like social areas as well as the auditoriums. But it's not just the quantity of people they've got sitting in there, but I don't know how easy this is to see, but in Vibella, usually the avatars in the first couple of rows of seats were fully formed, like the ones you see there. But they just had fake avatars, not they were real presences with name tags, but as they went further back, they became less and less detailed. And I don't know whether you can possibly see this from what we're broadcasting on screen, but in fact, all the avatars that are even quite a long way away up the ramps there are now fully detailed. If you actually could zoom in, which you can't here obviously, to them and look at them, you'll see there's fully fleshed out as the avatar sitting at the front, and that seems to be rather new. I went to a couple of these, and well, various people are there, but Philip Rosedale's done a few talks in here. I think he quite likes it too. But I gather from his point of view, he would be on stage, right? And he would see, if he was looking, some text I would put in, like an open sim saying, hi Philip, or sort of tell us about this, whatever. But on stage, unlike this is in the older version, he would not be able to see me because maybe if I was in the third row, my avatar wouldn't have come in. It would have been, so he would have no idea where I was sitting. He'd be just looking at this swamp, And so I'm rather glad that's obviously made a big difference. I would not want to be standing on that stage trying to figure out where somebody was sitting in the back row, But there we go. So that's the new look Vibella for you. A subtle change, but nonetheless quite an important one. Right, now, this is the folks from building the open metaverse. And this was, I think this was at SIGGRAPH, in fact. It was a morning course. These are all the people who are involved in the morning course. This is Neil Stevenson, the author of Snow Crash, who, of course, coined the phrase the metaverse. And there's somebody which, well, he was the main keynote anyway. I thought Tony Parisi was there somewhere, but probably he's not in this shot, that's for sure. Anyway, a couple of other shots. This is a bit pixelated, but that's Neil Stevenson again doing his keynote, and slightly better quality pic there. Looks more deliberately posed, as it were. And it was SIGGRAPH 22. It was all held in Vancouver during the week. There's a lot of stuff. I didn't post many immediate videos coming up there. There were just too many and things like that. But I will be selecting old ones that come online during the coming weeks and posting them in the Mastodon feed if they're of interest. All right, moving on. This I found really fascinating. Somebody posted 3 of these. I think there must be more, and it's not clear exactly where they came from, but it's a kind of what if Leonardo da Vinci had visualized headsets. Because he didn't, he missed that. And it's fascinating.
It almost looks like a Mobius drawing too.
It could be. Well, actually, it's got got quite a lot of that French style of
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep. Yep.
The intention was to come across something that looked a bit like Da Vinci, and I think that's like the multi-layer thing. But you're right. You're right. It could be anything else. So there were a couple. There was that one. Then there was this one, and finally there was this one, which really takes the ticket, doesn't it? Um, you could almost think of that as actually being Leonardo da Vinci. It's so off the map. I haven't seen one like that yet. Though the way these things have been churned out these days, it might only be a matter of time before we get something that's like the inverted curve rather than the curve that follows your face. Anyway, I thought those were kind of interesting. And a couple of other pictures. Oh yes. A word of warning, I'm not going to go around the rabbit hole here, but and this has been the case for a long while, so it's not new. But this snapshot I actually pasted on Facebook rather than Twitter or anywhere, just to remind people on Facebook that anything they do on Instagram and Facebook is being tracked, and reminding them that if they think they click on a link that is opening up their browser, it's not. It's opening up Facebook's own browser, which is very risky indeed. And anyway, that this little bit of information will tell you what's there. The Facebook's browser behaves a bit like an iframe. So anywhere you go, when you're going out from Facebook, you're not really going out at all. They're keeping you in an iframe. If you have JavaScript things in your browser that allows you to open frame in new window when you right click, that will burst you out of their iframe and put you in the real site. But you have to remember to do it. And what was else there? Oh yes, I have not successfully bought anything. I've managed to buy a couple of things from Facebook in the past, but none of them were, they were like, they advertise a pair of binoculars and they're like toy binoculars for pussycats or something. And you just say, oh, I wasted my money. But more to the point, even if you think you're clicking on an external ad, the website that it takes you to is not the true website. It's a Facebook page which is logging all the information, including the payment information you might be giving to the website you're buying from. So this I didn't put that up. It's just there for your notification, so to speak. Right, just be warned, and you can check that post out on my Facebook account if you really want. I love pasting certain kinds of links at Facebook that are about Facebook, but not necessarily favourable. But no rabbit holes anymore for me. Right. Okay. The Virtual Worlds Education Consortium, eduverse they're called. They are actually not based in OpenSim, oddly enough. They're based in Second Life. But on Friday, no, that's not this Friday, is it the 26th? Yeah, that'd be 2 weeks this coming Friday. At 1 p.m. Pacific time, they have a guest, which is Maria Gorilov, also known as Marie Kolash, and a whole load of other names, to be honest. You may even remember her as a co-host on this show from way back when. But anyway, if you want to dive into Second Life and go to the eduverse, you do the name eduverse is a good one to put in search. You'll find it easily enough with that one. Turn up and see what she's doing. I haven't got a poster for it yet, although I do believe there is one on Facebook that Thursday posted, because Maria is also going to be a guest in the next Hypergrowth Safari, and it's going to be a sort of chat session that will be held right here where we do this program from, on the at the Safari region of the Abercon grid. So all that is coming up. Right, and I'll just go and move into a couple of news clips before we get going. With the actual other links. This is an advert I found in the week. It's called the Music Metaverse, and it's also an adventure by something called Stage 11. I was kind of intrigued. Snoop Dogg is listed here as part of it. This is a preview. It's something that won't be available to next year. But I thought, well, let's have a look at it. At least they're not claiming to be the metaverse. They're simply saying they are a music metaverse. Scott. Yeah, there we are. Make what you will of that. That is separate from the Vroom one we previewed last week too. This is just an odd sort of augmented reality thing called Elon's Musk. I think it's reference. They make a reference to Elon Musk. Is it wearing some Musk perfume or something? I don't know. Apple Watch is just a bit silly.
My startup needs a cash infusion, and if I'm going to impress all the investors at AWE, I can't just talk like a genius. I've got to smell like one too. That's why I'm wearing Elon's Musk #7. The only cologne that makes you smell like the kind of man who builds electric cars and shoots them into space. Smells like disruption.
Oops. I should really have started with that. The last couple of weeks we started with a comedy clip, didn't we? But never mind. I stuck it in there this week. And God, all my pop-ups. Can't get rid of notifications on this new Mac for some reason. Right. Inside the metaverse. Right. This is 3D detailed anatomical renderings revolutionizing healthcare. Sort of a sample piece, really.
Mark Griswold may appear to be by himself, but this Case Western Reserve professor is not alone.
So this is a brain simulation of a patient.
This is the virtual room Griswold is in. And those three blue heads around him, they are avatars for world-class surgeons.
I'm in Durham, North Carolina right now.
I'm in Western Mass on vacation.
And I'm in Dublin, Ireland at a meeting.
They're thousands of miles apart, but together they're working to revolutionize healthcare as they gather around a 3D rendering of a brain to map out a complex surgery. This kind of consultation used to take days of video calls. Now, using HoloLens technology from Microsoft, it takes perhaps an hour.
You tighten it up a little bit in the back.
They even had time to let me join in.
And here's our surgical planning team. And what you're seeing in front of us is a brain.
My unwashed, untrained hand can go into this brain. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's not just a whole new virtual world for surgery.
What you can see now is that we've got a skeleton with us in the room here.
To see the nerves and how they bundle together inside the spine.
Here's what I'm seeing through my headset.
You can look at the chest, you can look at the face.
It's a new way to teach anatomy that doesn't involve costly cadavers. At Case Western Reserve School of Medicine, researchers have found these virtual models help medical students learn twice as fast and keep the knowledge longer.
It's awesome. I think it's like one of the things about studying anatomy is really seeing exactly how it lays in space. And I don't know that I ever would have gotten that without a virtual reality experience.
And as this technology becomes more widely available, so will this knowledge, even beyond medical school.
You'll have high school students arriving with a medical student's command of anatomy if they want it.
Exactly. And that's the power of this kind of technology. They could do this at any high school in America as long as they've got a Wi-Fi signal.
So here we're just looking at the muscular system.
For developing nations, community colleges, even nursing programs where this sort of training may have been off limits, now virtual learning is democratizing what has been an elite understanding of the human body. Jake Ward, NBC News, Cleveland.
Now, when it comes to this multifaceted word called the multiverse, I mean the metaverse. It incorporates quite a lot of things. Now, traditionally, we tended to think of it as, some kind of merging of all the virtual worlds that we took our avatars into and met with, but very much like it happened there, but, in other ways, and maybe, immersive things on the web that are experiences you just go into and enjoy. But this is an example of something that ultimately will be in the definition of any metaverse. I mean, not only the health side of it, which is great news there, but also the fact that this is actually is somewhere between augmented reality and actual virtual reality. Everything they need to do is in the virtual reality component, as it were. That's what's holding it together, holding all the people together. But they're also just appearing there, kind of in real life too, and as avatars. And there's no need for them to have a fully fleshed out avatar that looks like they're in a a psychedelic game. All they need to do is to be able to examine that skeleton and anatomy and stuff like that. So it's one of the many facets of the 3D world, if you like, that would make up part of the metaverse. But you don't want to be confused, and this is not rabbit holing, by the way. Don't be confused that the metaverse is VR, virtual reality. It does very much include other things, including a long, long tradition of virtual worlds that are available on your computer screens in 2D. They're 3D worlds, but they don't rely on you joining up into helmet world, So, just saying. Okay, this one's from a platform called Spatial XR, just showing off their geometry. Well, we'll look at it and see. Well, for a bit of commentary, something I'm finding a bit odd about this one is that I'm presuming, like most modern worlds, this stuff is done with mesh, although I may be wrong. But contrasting with this very rigid geometry, some of the scenes are showing things like rocks lying around and things, which are almost anarchic. They're the antithesis of the slick geometry, as you can see in the background now on the ground. So I'm quite curious as to how all this is kind of built, because you've got the randomness of some of the stuff on the ground, as it were, and then this very precision engineering above. Anyway. Anyway, concentrating on the slick stuff there, really. Yeah, it's hard to tell with these things. I mean, wonderful architecture and stuff. There's nothing to say you couldn't do that in OpenSim or Second Life or any number of Prim-based places. I've seen it done. It looks, it's obviously quite complex architecture there, but when you don't see people or any kind of representation of interactive components, then it makes you very hard to qualify what that is, except for a nice piece of music and a nice piece of geometry. You know, if I saw an avatar there or something being done in there, you know, even by a disembodied hand or something, you would get a better idea of what the platform is for. But I'm afraid, you know, Spatial have got a lot of stuff up there, but what they need to be producing is clips that give you a much better idea of what the platform as a whole is there for, rather than specific things you can do with architecture and geometrics, as they call it there. And another world that's put this clip up, demonstrating themselves, is called Substrata. Now this one I don't think is too bad. It looks to me very like an early Second Life. Again, I can't tell whether it's mesh or prim. Well, I don't think it would be prim-based at this day and age. The avatar looks like an early Second Life avatar, complete with its psychedelic kit. And it walks around, and if you look at the buildings and stuff, it just has that early Second Life feel. So this is a world called Substrata VR. Looks like the only sound effects are him walking and running. But yeah, there we are, Second Life flying. If any of you know Second Life, early Second Life, you may think, yeah, it's got that feel to it, hasn't it? And open soon, for that matter. So clearly they managed to do a bit of building and have, unlike many of the new worlds, a halfway decent avatar. And I'm biased because I like the t-shirt. I bet James does too.
Yeah, my first avatar in Second Life had a tie-dye t-shirt, which was very similar.
Ah, those were the days. When was that? 1970?
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I remember. And I think I had matching flared jeans with tie-ties.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep. Gosh, golly. Right, okay, so I'm going to leave our clips for now. Now, this one's only 3 minutes, so I'll run this one, but the other 3 are a bit longer, so let's see how time is at the end. It's just simply asking, this is one of the American talk show things, actually. They're simply asking the question, how much will the metaverse be worth by 2030, which is, still 8 years away, so it's a tall order working that one out, especially with inflation at the moment, but never mind.
The metaverse, a name which hardly needs an introduction as it's on the tip of the tongue of tech enthusiasts. Metaverse is now being described as the new reality by many. It actually is an integrated network of virtual worlds which can be assessed by the use of various AR and VR equipment. Metaverse has started a cultural and technical movement of its own. It has attracted various brands, social media platforms, technological leaders, creators, artists, and more to join the game and establish a presence in the market, since its popularity is growing massively. Thanks to the diversity of its utility, Metaverse is being used for several purposes, from gaming, training, interaction, virtual trade and commerce online, to creating a whole new experience of its own. Metaverse is almost everywhere. A growing focus on integrating the digital and physical worlds using the internet, increasing momentum and popularity of mixed reality, augmented reality and virtual reality are all expected to drive the metaverse market growth. An analysis by Bloomberg Intelligence senior industry analyst Matthew Canterman and Bloomberg Intelligence industry analyst Nathan Naidu in 2021 highlighted that the metaverse will, in a few years, capture the $800 billion market opportunity. It also underlined that the metaverse gives an opportunity for leading online entertainment and social media companies to capitalize on new revenue streams. Recently verified market research also published a report named Metaverse Market, and according to the research, the metaverse market size, which was valued at US $27.21 billion back in 2020, is now projected to reach US $824.53 billion by 2030. growing at a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 39.1% between 2022 to 2030. With the current growth the digital space is witnessing, the idea seems quite plausible, and experts have often highlighted that the metaverse has the potential to change how we perceive and live life in the metaverse. The potential is endless. Thanks for joining us. If you like the information, please let us know. Give it a like, share it and comment below. Subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon. You'll be notified whenever Calkine releases a new video. But for more articles like this, the website's updated regularly. Please have a look, calkinemedia.com. Sage here for Calkine Media.
Right, there you go. Interesting. In the first half of that, I thought it refreshing to have sort of attractive presenter who actually does seem to know what she's talking about. In other words, she didn't really mention the flat screen aspects of it, but she did seem to have a grip on the merging of different types of media and things like that, and how the hypothetical metaverse is made. Unfortunately, I've got a feeling when the financial report started there, a lot of the research that we read about that says the metaverse is going to be worth billions and billions and billions and squillions, in fact, is actually using figures which relate to the growth of blockchain transactions, the aim to be made out of digital currencies and things like that. And I'm not sure that's really on track. I think there's a lot of hype at the moment, which a lot of people agree with, that, the blockchain can be very useful for some things, but is probably totally useless for others. As we know from the real world, bitcoins and a lot of these digital currencies have actually crashed and got people, in a pickle. Not the case with digital currencies in particular worlds. So you take something like Second Life and Linden Labs, their Linden dollar has been going for 15, 20 years and is thriving, although it is a microverse with a micro metaverse, as it were, and a walled garden. But it's proof that financial economy can work in a virtual world. But I think the metaverse needs a lot more interoperability and standards and stuff sorted out before you can actually start seriously thinking about its value. Because there are too many components to actually estimate value, especially 8 years ahead. Anyway, that is my thoughts. And that disclaimer's got nothing to do with me. Of course it hasn't. Right, okay. I can put that away, and I'm actually switching to some web pages with interesting links for the week now. This is the boring bit. This is the bit where I'm liable to go down the rabbit hole, and I've been told not to. In fact, not told anything really. I'm going to try not to. It's a good start, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
3D picture. I like these glasses. Although, again, if you look carefully, you'll see it a bit like the original Google Glass. They've got a symmetry to them, but if you look carefully on the right side there's an extra lens and a little bit coming out the side. And when I could plausibly wear something like that as opposed to a helmet, or even what they call a headset, they're still a bit bulky for me, but the thing that would put me off them is the fact they don't have that symmetry of uniformity. And this isn't just an aesthetic of how they look, it's also the feel. This lady's coping quite well, but I imagine that the right side of those glasses are heavier, and that they'll be like those sort of the classic image of the absent-minded professor, with his glasses halfway down his nose and definitely off balance. I have a feeling that actually wearing them, unattended for a few minutes, and they slope down on one side because of the extra weight. I don't know enough about them to know what the actual difference in weight is, but even I know in my case, even a small bit, and my greasy nose, I can't even keep my ordinary glasses on properly, let alone anything that's weighted and lopsided at the same time. Anyway, just my thought there. This actually is part of the XR Week Peak, where Tony Vitillo, otherwise known as the Scarred Ghost, gives his weekly roundup. And this is his roundup for August the 8th, which of course is last Monday. And just for the sake of it, I'll say cue the music. You never know what might happen next. Well, obviously, nothing.
Oh, you didn't hear that?
No.
Oh, that's because
Never mind.
Discord's misbehaving. I apologize.
Background noise. It was just sort of a wolf's howl, but we do it every week, so no sweat.
Just give me a second. You know, every time I install an update to Windows, it reorders all the audio devices.
Yeah, Windows is.
That's just ridiculous.
This broadcast is where my screen share is on the Mac, which is a relief because Windows, as you say, it changes every week. You know.
Let's give this a shot.
There it is.
There we go.
Woo-hoo. Yes, the Ghost Towels. And the website you want is scarredghost.com. SKARREDGHOST.com. And as I say, this comes out every Monday. So if you go there tomorrow for the 15th, for example, you'll get a new one. Or maybe the 16th, you know, the beginning of the week anyway. This is actually the roundup from last week. And of course, it did give me an opportunity to talk about that picture. So very good. A company called Axomi. I don't know how to pronounce it, but these are their Midja smart glasses.
Show Me, I think, was the name we saw last week.
Show Me, that's it, yeah. And as far as I know, most of the PR's in Chinese, and as far as I know, they're only actually available in China at the moment. But as he says, it's a very sleek design. Sleek, yeah, I agree. But aesthetically, I want something that's a little less lopsided, and certainly for the weight of wearing them on my nose, as it were. 50 megapixel cameras, that's pretty good. 8-pixel megapixel telephoto lens, 5 times optical zoom, 15 times hybrid zoom. I don't know what hybrid zoom. Has internal battery, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth, and an 8-core chipset from Snapdragon. So they're obviously not super lightweight. My ideal, as I pointed out before, again, avoiding the rabbit hole, is that these glasses should really connect with a smartphone in the way that our headphones do. You know, think of them as portable screen, whether they are surround vision, as in, virtual environment, or whether they are simply, a 3D screen that rests on your nose. Anyway, Improbable, Cambridge company here, and RP1 are creating the network of the Metaverse. They've been doing this for a good few years, actually. Yuga Labs and Improbable have actually only joined up recently for testing this sort of joint world called Other Side. And it is an NFT, non-fungible. See, I'm at it again. A non-fungible token-based world. That's the real definition of NFT, by the way, in case you've heard my other somewhat rude ones. They created the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is also something that I'm not particularly interested in. Tony is not a huge fan of this NFT hype either, so whatever. But he was impressed by the technical outcome when they managed to put 4,500 people all together in the same environment, with all of them seeing and interacting with each other. So this scaling has always been something Improbable have aimed at doing. And they were basically at Cambridge University for a long time. They've now moved to, they have separate offices of their own in London, and they are a commercial company now rather than a lab. But they do a lot of research, and they're working on basic architecture and scaling up for a lot of users in the shared space. I often wonder, we've got OpenSim here and Second Life, which has more people in the same space more frequently, although probably less capable. But what would I actually do if I had an audience of 4,000 people in front of me and I could see them and hear them all? That'd be nightmarish. When we think of virtual worlds, we do have to think about the real world too. They're an extension of our reality. And in the same way that you don't go to a rock festival expecting to talk to everybody in the bloody field, let alone the people on stage, you expect to have that interoperative intimacy, you know, with either within a few meters around you, or maybe something more directional. But you certainly, it's an achievement to get 100,000 users, or it will be, I should say, based on their estimates, in a shared space. But short of putting on something like a rock festival, or some big, no, even theatre or film wouldn't work. It would have to be something like a rock festival online for that to work. And also, you could not do two things simultaneously. You could not broadcast in a fixed environment to, what, 100,000 people, which would be a big, even by festival standards, and be able to have them be intimate with the people in their immediate environment at the same time. At the very best, you'd have to switch modes. You wouldn't need a separate shard, but you'd have to have, I think, the high fidelity initiated originally, which is a bubble. It's a phrase coined by government when they were talking about the coronavirus too, you know, stick in your own bubble. The idea being you've got an invisible bubble around you and you include your immediate friends in that bubble. But you exclude everything else outside. But it'd be a balancing act if you excluded the music playing to 100,000 people and still kept the intimacy of your friends around you. So little things like this are immediately complicated. It's not as simple as sticking 100,000 people on the platform. But it was all done with only one server. The demos were 4,000. And it was a web XR virtual world. In other words, it was 4,000 connected clients, so simulating real people basically, and on one server. And they did point out as well, and I know this from the early days of stress testing OpenSim here, the 4,000 avatars they put in, the 4,000 connected clients, were actually bots. In other words, the bots would be very slim, streamlined presences, which would not really add too much weight to a server. Though that quantity would, but individually they might not. So it might not be quite the feat that it sounds. But anyway, very interesting stuff there in his roundup. I'm not going to stick here with anything else because all of it is stuff, well, some stuff we mentioned last week, other stuff that's of interest. You can always get the back issues of this, so if you end up going there to scarghost.com tomorrow and find yourself on August the 15th, you can always go to the sidebar and look up the previous one for August 8th. And indeed, during the course of the week, Scarghost actually, you know, he often posts hands-on details in his blog about various things. There were a few this week, although I've not actually included them here. Moving on there, so this is OReilly.com. OReilly.com. And Tim O'Reilly himself writing here. This is August the 2nd, so technically it wasn't last week, but it's last week it got posted as far as I can, on my feed anyway. The metaverse is not a place, it's a communications medium, which is pretty accurate. I think in a way, it's certainly not a place, but it is multiple places. And, you know, if I'm in a nightclub in the virtual world, and I'm talking via text or teleport over to meet somebody who's having a little meeting about, you know, doing artwork in virtual reality. Right, two different things anyway. I'm engaged in a communications exercise. Well, not exercise, a real communications use of the platform. Yeah. So it is undoubtedly a communications medium, but it is also, conversely to what's said here, it is also involving two places. So there are places in the metaverse. It's just that the metaverse is not a single place. So avoid getting that wrong. But anyway, an interesting little piece here by Tim O'Reilly on his own website, basically, and yeah, looking at the general idea of communications. Seen through the lens of a virtual real estate metaphor, the metaverse becomes a natural successor not just to Second Life, but to the World Wide Web and to social media feeds, which can be thought of as a set of places, sites in brackets, to visit. Virtual reality headsets make these places more immersive. And although, of course, as I'm always pointing out, not actually necessary. You can see a place on the screen as well as in a headset. Anyway, this is a very interesting exercise. He has to know what he's talking about. Some embedded videos here that you can watch as well. So, including Mark Zuckerberg's vision for socializing in the metaverse, the hype that started it all, so to speak. Anyway, you can see from my scrolling that there is an awful lot there. There's probably more than the average Tony Patillo Scar Ghost Beast. So go to OReilly.com to look up this one. If you find a problem going to the website and finding the links for these things, do remember to go to twitter.com/malburns, MALBURNS. And when you find these listed, you can click on the link and it will take you to the exact page where these articles are, as opposed to the landing page on the web, which you sometimes get instead. Okay, moving on down here. It seems I've got to click on OK thing. This is a site called AR Insider. And this is another Roundup thing. This is Charlie Fink, actually, who, of course, we know from Weekend XR, etc., and coming up in a bit, in fact. It seems to be different. I mean, I think he just repackages variations on the same column and gives them to everybody under the sun nowadays. But anyway, this one's called Spatial Beats, and I think it's happening every week. He repeats his news about the conjoined twins, which were separated with the help of virtuality. We covered that last week. Quest Spaceball game. A few things here, including some of the things being done by Meta to try and promote their vision of the obviously phrase metaverse. Right, active look brings light AR to sports sunglasses. I think, yeah, don't think we covered that one here, but it was quite interesting. Oh, I love this. Zuckerberg says Meta and Apple are in very deep philosophical competition to build a metaverse. Does he even know what? No, sorry, old habits here. let me move on. Right, organics.org, because one of the main things that happened this week, as well as the SIGGRAPH conference, was a big event from NVIDIA, the people that make your graphics cards and stuff. It's giving me a rather funny appearance on this one. There we go, that's a bit more like it. Right. They've announced a new Omniverse avatar cloud engine for building virtual assistants and digital humans. That's the guy, the boss of NVIDIA. And if you've ever seen photographs of him, that is a great caricature cartoon. It really does look like him, even though it's very obviously not a photorealistic in sort of the uncanny valley, but very much him. Right. So, yeah, they've announced a lot this week. Firstly, they've open sourced a lot of creative stuff for people to use and, to build open source or whatever. NVIDIA, remember, their main thing is the graphics cards and things like that. They want to sell hardware and stuff like that. Anything they do to make building and watching and all this stuff is very much in service of their mainline business. So they can sort of afford to be throwing out a lot of this stuff. The Omniverse Avatar Cloud Engine is you actually have to create these things in the cloud, but you can create avatars basically. You could, working on your own picture, you could create an avatar like that, and you're not actually I've got a jacket like that. You're not confined to having an oversized head either. That's just that's just his example. And it's so quite exciting, actually. I mean, remember all this stuff has been released at this, their annual shindig this week. So it's taking a while for people to sink in. But there've been a lot of posts about the individual things that this took in. NVIDIA Merlin, NVIDIA Metropolis for computer vision, NVIDIA Merlin is for high-performing recommender systems. NVIDIA Riva is for speech recognition. NVIDIA Omniverse is for artificial intelligence-enabled animation. And NVIDIA Nemo Megatron for large language models. Well, you get it. There's a lot of stuff here. So it's really a roundup, but this is a very good site for getting that kind of thing, and it's at auganix.org, auganix.org. Moving on to another familiar site, digitaltrends.com, and this is digitaltrends.com. And this is about metaversities. I thought, not cities, or what, metaversities, as in meta universities, I suppose, that kind of thing. Let you attend digital twins of real-world college campuses in VR. Now, there isn't actually anything new here. And when they said the first virtual campus was Morehouse College, a liberal arts college located in Atlanta, Georgia, well, that's bullshit. Pardon my language. I know in the UK there's educational establishments involved here. There's a picture here of one of them down there, and that actually looks like the Australian one that funded all those machinima things for many years. Universities and educational establishments have been very much in the forefront of providing mirror sort of twins of themselves in virtual worlds. The idea, was that in some cases the idea is students, attend remotely. In some cases, it's a case of students attending in a hybrid way. And there were certainly various examples. I think it was somewhere in California. There was one where they were describing that, how outside the COVID lockdown, where it was very important anyway, students who lived nearby and could easily pop into campus would tend to come to campus, whereas students who lived a bit further away, I don't mean in another city, I mean just in, an hour away, would often log in virtually. Simply, basically the work involved in getting to the campus. If it was a bit more than people liked, then they would log in virtually. And so it was an actual trend, to distinguish the people who attended live from those who attended virtually. And it was purely a matter of the commuting business, really. Anyway, this is all very good stuff, even though I'm afraid that first virtual campus claim is stretching it, to put it mildly. They plug Victory XR's YouTube channel. You can get some very interesting videos there. I think I've shown some of those in the past. And they're talking about 9 campuses that are coming in this fall. Meta, of course, have been deep diving into the idea of education, which is not surprising, really. Deep dive into everything, really. Okay, I'm not. I think we've stuck basically with the company Victory XR, and they're actually getting funding from Meta. And oh yeah, here we are. Their actual platform is the Engage platform, which I actually think is a very good platform. So Victory XR is a branding on top of Engage VR, I guess. So anyway, if you've got kids that are about to go to university or something, and you wonder how to need some advice, telling them how to get there without leaving the house, maybe this is your answer. Over and beyond, of course, some of the facilities that are available virtually that you don't get in IRL, as they say. Right, moving on. David Burden, I know David quite well. He's up in the Midlands here, Coventry, I guess. When his site wants to load, mind you. Okay. Since COVID, his company doesn't seem to be doing much, but he's been doing a lot of stuff himself. Okay, I'm going to try and switch to web mode here. Oh yeah, there we are. This is, so why does it work? How odd is that? Okay. Well, anyway, this is at medium.com. And August the 10th, basically, it's a 7-minute read, and he's called it The Metaverse, A Future History. And he writes a lot of sort of things like that. He's illustrated it. Dayton is the name of his company, and they actually they were started off in Second Life with sort of these strange Twitter feed constructs and war rooms. They moved to OpenSim, and then they moved to actually authoring their own compacted software that educational establishments could use and distribute, which of course gave more privacy to the education rather than just the standard OpenSim installations. Anyway, looking at short-term, medium-term challenges, integration, all the rest of it, he's got a fairly unique take on this stuff. I mean, when you read some of these things, I think, well, everybody's writing a post on what they think the metaverse is going to be and how it's going to happen. Well, firstly, he's got a lot of experience. But secondly, his take on it is not just another rehashing or even similar to stuff other people have written. It's a unique approach to what he tells us. So it's about a 7-minute read, and it's actually at medium.com. In fact, I can now give you from here, I think, the full address. So it's DAVIDJHBURDEN. So it's David J.H. Burden medium medium.com, and yeah, that's where you can go and read it. Indeed. Right, let's see if I can get back into a screen-friendly mode here. And this next link is to a company called the Fast Company, FASTCOMPANY.com. And this is talking about how the metaverse can end work silos and surface innovation. When we look at commerce, we look at the workplace and stuff, and people in the workplace think how the metaverse can improve work. Oh yeah, well, we'll build a model of our office in a metaverse thingy somewhere, and then we get everybody else to log in, except we've got to be able to watch them while they work. Oh, that means switching the webcam on and monitoring them, and blah, 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 etc., etc. At the end of the day, COVID's over, come back to the office and spread your germs. Thank you. Right. Some people missing the message, really. You've got to think of the metaverse, virtual reality, or even flat reality on screen as enhancement tools. They're there to enhance what's already there, what you can do. The evidence here, mentioned in this article, really, is that the promotion of non-conformity in the workplace is a very good thing, right? What they're saying is that, as I say, work silos being basically, you open plan office where you're locked in all day or whatever. If you can get out of that typical workspace thing and get a sort of freedom, then you can surface innovation. You can bring about innovation, is what they're saying. Everyday sticking points become more fluid, insights gain context, groundbreaking ideas flare and catch wind. You're unlocking a level of collaboration, and you can transfer performance across your entire company. So this is, I think, the way to look at it. If I were running a workplace, this is certainly the way I would want to go. The real thing that makes me cringe is the old-fashioned workplaces, especially those open things where there'll be some manager who, to justify his job alone, right, he had no other function. He will wander around standing over people's shoulders, breathing heavily, pretending to be interested in what they're doing, even if he didn't understand it, just making a point that he was the manager and he was keeping an eye on you and checking you were working, That is his sole job. The fact that he was breathing over your shoulder probably put you off doing anything constructive. You're probably thinking, oh, I'll just do something. How long is he going to stand there, God damn it? And so many companies are now actually treating homeworking this way too. You have to log in, at the beginning of the day, fair enough, no flexible hours there. But you have to log in with your live webcam, and you have to be watched on your webcam all day. And technology these days, I can assure you, your boss may not just be seeing your webcam. he may be running software that can interpret from gestures and things like that the way you're feeling, or he may be able to know that you're frustrated in the job you're doing simply because of your facial expression on the webcam. He has software that calculates your mood. We live in wonderful times. The things we can do now, but we just have to watch out that they're not abused, and far too often that's where my rabbit holes take us, as you know. Right, okay, so a good roundup here on what the rest of us can do for the workplace, and enabling innovation, and as they point here, remote collaboration too. And well, they cite various things. This is Alex Howland, devoted, by the way, who's president of Fibella. Although clearly he's not talking about Fibella here, he's talking about remote workplaces. Visit page, fair enough, I will, thank you, la-di-da. Okay, language learning in the metaverse. This post comes from arpost.co, so that's arpost.co. And they make a point of saying that languages don't exist in isolation. Have you heard of language learning immersion camps? Gosh golly. Well, I know a couple of Avatar colleagues who are very involved in language learning, and have actually helped us with some events here in OpenSim. Heiko is one. Oh God, I've forgotten the second name already.
Heiko Philp.
Heiko Philp, that's it. I always used to say Philip, so always getting a Heiko Philp, that's it. Anyway, so it's from the very beginning, it's been a major educational focus in early things like Second Life onwards. It's very good when you think of play acting and performance, you want to practice going into a shop in France and ordering something in French and understanding the reply in French. Back when I was a young whippersnapper at school, I failed French miserably because we were never allowed to take it in the end, but we were given an introductory course, which was the first of its kind. It was an audio-visual thing where it was slides and tapes and stuff, and you had to mimic doing the thing for real. Now, of course, with virtual reality and the online these days, that is easy. You simply create the high street and you go to your boulangerie and your brasserie and stuff like that, and go through the purchasing routines or whatever, and then you go and ask the cop the way to the park or something. You practice it basically in a virtual environment using voice and the native voice of the language you're trying to learn, but there's all sorts of interfaces on top of that are in your own language that allow you to mediate between the tool and get the best advantage out of the exercises. So I'm very keen on this indeed. I mean, I was always taught that the best way I wanted to learn French before I went to France was that I needed to buy this kit that I put the headphones on and it would teach me French while I was in my sleep. Well, if I 2 minutes into my sleep, I would turn over and the headphone would come out, and I'd be woken up and trying to, you've got to be a very chilled out person, I think, to do it that way. I don't actually know. Well, I think actually they did work. I think for certain kind of people, who aren't disturbed, they're basically put in a trance when they're sleeping, and they're gradually, introduced to the language. But I think it's much more fun to go into a virtual world and walk down the street and go into the shops and buy things that are for real, and learn to ask for them and pronounce them, and even at a push understand the value of the currency compared to your own. All sorts of little things that you would essentially need to get by. In France in particular, you go to France and you have to speak French. If you don't speak French, they ignore you. When they understand you're trying and that you're no good at it, they sometimes say, "Oh, damn it, speak English." But they are famous for protection of their own language. They even have a government ministry for the protection of the French language. We should have an English one, shouldn't we? No, never mind. Right, okay, so good here for language learning. They look at some of the platforms. Immerse is one. It was an enterprise platform, but now it works for education stuff a lot. Mondly, practicing your languages in VR. And of course, VR now extends from just a high street on the computer screen to an actual VR environment. I don't know that you gain anything from the VR environment because it's still about practicing speech with people. I suppose you can probably do more pointing. You can point to the shelf and sort of point to, I don't know, a fruit bun and say, what is that in French? And they tell you in French it's a fruity bunny or something, you know, whatever. I don't know, but I suppose, you know, if you're into Helmet Land, then it's an added bonus. Engage, of course, good platform that. Alt Space VR, this is one that's owned by Microsoft. And they have a lot of interesting things happening in there, but it's one that I personally very rarely have actually gone into. I think it is just a bit of a culture shock compared with so many other platforms that actually are out there these days. And even in places like Roblox, Duolingo is celebrating 10 years of language learning with a game hub in Roblox. And I actually I was reading earlier, I don't know whether it's in the feeds here today, but I got quite a shock when I realised in an article recently just how long Roblox has been going. It's really not a new kid on the block. Like I think it's a new kid in the perception of the block, shall we say. Right. So yeah, you've got Helmet, you've got PC VR, you've got on-screen stuff here. So quite a little roundup there. And you find this at arpost.co, arpost.co. And then we come to the other week in XR. This is Charlie Vink's piece at Forbes, as it always is, forbes.com. And you can probably find it from the front page, but otherwise just go to my Twitter feed, twitter.com/Mal Burns, and get the link that will take you directly to his page. Big news in the tech world this week. Amazon's acquisition of Roomba. Right, now I don't have a separate post on this, but I actually thought this was rather funny. Roomba is that vacuum thing, because dust isn't the only thing the household robot collects. It vacuums up data, mapping your house while it cleans. This has always been a feature of Roomba. So the vacuum cleaner can go around and it knows the little nooks and crannies of your floor, and it can get in, you know, it can check it's getting to clean everything, you know, alert you to instructions. But apparently that data is very valuable, and where did we go from here? Right. Apparently, not only can the Roomba Hoover, so vacuum, detect, you know, the basic things it needs to do, but it also has the facility for quite literally spying on your environment. It can not only map out your floor, but it can speculate furniture. It can estimate what furniture you are missing or what you might need. And the Amazon purchase of Roomba is being regarded as great suspicion, because they think, you know, Amazon basically wants to send you ads for all the things that the Roomba detects you haven't already got in your house. So suspicion immediately, basically. Other news: Fundamental VR raised 20 million for surgical simulation, etc., etc. Here we are. Right, this is there's other posts on this and Roundup, but this is the Forbes take here. Did Amazon buy Roomba to turn it into a household spy? And the longer articles on this are fascinating, but think about it. For the last couple of years, the smart device has been LiDAR mapping the interior of people's houses. Data is said to be one of the key assets that the robotics company sold. The firm, founded in 1990 by MIT scientists, has sold more than 30 million units, earning a place in popular culture. Oh, well, they still don't tell us the whole story about, I guess this is Charlie Fink basically did Amazon buy it to do it in a household spy without actually giving us more details? But there is a lot more to be said about that you'll find on the more independent thinking sites, I think. It doesn't appear to be here. Anyway, the week in XR, this week in XR from Charlie there is a very good kind of roundup of stuff. Comes out at the end of the week, so that would have been on Friday or something. Will be coming shortly to the video version, which is a slightly different cup of tea. Right, moving on to AR Insiders, ARINSIDER.co. And how will the metaverse materialize? Good question. Why does it keep... Never mind. Okay. Metaverse is exciting as it is nebulous. That's quite a good introduction. Nebulous is a word I would really describe the metaverse as, actually, in a way at the moment. It's certainly far more nebulous than what I might have thought it meant, say, a year or two ago. The term has become so overused that it's lost all meaning. This can be seen as the M word being slapped into ill-fitting, sometimes comical press releases and product launches. So it goes with buzzwords in the attention economy. And for those of you who watch this show regularly and are used to my rabbit holing and stuff, you know that this this is why I'm so critical and write off so much, because, you know, it is that buzzword thing, isn't it? Get the attention, even though you don't know what you're talking about. And, you know, the intro to this is put their hands on it. Although definitions are elusive, mostly because it doesn't really exist yet, there are models developing. We can see two tracks. One involves virtual online and synchronous worlds. The other adds digital dimension and context to the offline physical world. And two tracks, but one ultimate outcome, quite possibly. Zoning in on the latter, this is where the metaverse meets Main Street. Is what we've been calling the Meta-Earth or Metaverse. It's built on geo-local AR, augmented reality. For example, visual search app like Google Lens let you point your home at places and products to activate layers of digital content. Anyway, it goes on, needless to say. As I said, ARinsider.co. You know, it's one of these better editorials that still pop up now and again. I know, shock horror, but they do. And it's a short read. It's a short read, but a good read, I think, on those matters. Right. And you probably feel there's a bit of a theme to this week's short hops as well. Tom Belstorff, he's an anthropologist, and he's very well known in Second Life. He made a couple of very big machinima films, or actually real world documentaries with Draxler Dupre, the video maker. Well, he's basically saying the metaverse isn't here yet, but it already has a long history. Can't paraphrase any of this at all, but you really have to read the whole article because he wraps a whole load of sort of things into it. He certainly goes into the history of things like MUDs and whatever. It's not a long article, although you can see me scrolling quite a way here. Learning from history, of course, is important too. But again, it's a very good read, especially if you want to know not so much what the metaverse is or isn't, but what a long history in that field, so to speak, has already gone, so to speak. Right, moving on to games industry biz. Gosh golly, that's a colourful little picture. Okay, yeah, I like this games industry biz. So it's GAMESINDUSTRY.BIZ or Z or whatever Americans call it. Right, interesting article. Lost leaders of the pack. I always think of lost leaders as like, you know, supermarkets that got some things at the front of the shop that seem extraordinarily cheap because they're taking a small loss on them in order to get you in to buying all the other items they put extra money on. At the end of the day, you spend just as much, but the loss leader gets you into the store. It's a bit more complicated than that, but a similar thing could have been said to be happening in the games here. Call me old-fashioned, the writer says, but I generally believe a successful business should make money. That's why I'm sometimes surprised to read about the incredible buzz and valuations around companies like Roblox and Unity, right? Both of which posted their earnings this week, and neither of which actually make money. Now, when I saw this, I thought, what do you mean Unity aren't making money? Well, they're not. And neither, I mentioned a couple of pictures back, or posts back rather, that Roblox have been around for quite a while. Well, both Roblox and Unity have been around here for a long while. And I suppose the nearest parallel is something like Twitter, which is, what, 15 years old? I forget when I beta tested it, but it's a long while ago. It had a different aim when it began. But I don't think Twitter has yet gone into profit, ever, despite Elon Musk wanting to buy it and then not buy it, and then buy it again, and then not buy it, and then wanting to go court, whatever. Unity has been around since 2004 and has never had a profitable quarter. And added to that streak this week, they posted second quarter earning results. I don't even want to read this. Lifetime deficit, billions accumulated, net losses last quarter in the millions, hundreds of millions. And arguably, companies that somehow manage to survive at a loss, it makes you wonder how they accumulate it. I suppose they've got venture capitalists or something to keep backing them. But usually the intention is to build something considerable that they can then make public, for example, and become a huge money earner. Which that setting up is paid for by all the losses in the formative years. You can just read this as creating a potentially illegal anti-competitive advantage for itself, going a couple of decades without overly fussed about turning a profit. The idea being that you make yourself an indispensable dominant force in a major market. And I suspect there's a good, I'm not going to mention any names, but there's probably a good few, well, the one I'm thinking of doesn't make a loss, but yet. But, you can imagine how companies are following this thing. The thing is, Unity still cares about its bottom line because it recently laid off loads of people, but at the same time, the company is very much expanding. It's gone from building games into building, building effects for Hollywood, building whole worlds, building augmented reality things. It's very much the page maker, the go-to place to author anything immersive and virtual. It's already, its only real competitor until now has probably been the Unreal Engine. It's a shame that Unity and Unreal both begin with a U, and people get them confused. I used to for myself. But I did find it astonishing that considering their expansion, they're also acquiring other companies. How they can do that, when they're actually running at a deficit. So anyway, I'm not going to dwell on this, but this is a very interesting article because it would never have occurred to me. I know companies take a loss in this quarter and gain in another quarter, and some are considered to be in a bad way because they take a minor reduction in profits in a quarter or something. But this is another ball game entirely. So it's Brendan Sinclair, I guess, is the guy who's raised it all here. So games industry, all one word, .biz, B-I-Z for that one. And that brings me to the end of the actual links to web pages. And final link is all these posts are actually, they're on my feed here at Mastodon, which you can get at mastodon.social/@Metaworld. And this is basically where I keep all the long form videos that come up in the week, and the posts go here first, but then they get cross posted to Twitter, so it doesn't really matter. If you want to find them, you'll find them on Twitter too, amongst all my other links. Right, so slightly out of order this week because I had to catch up with them in the latter half of the week. basically, for one reason or another. This is more than a day ago. It was about 3, in fact. So this is Charlie Fink's actual Week in XR podcast. With his companion Ted Shilowitz, and they've got Alex Heath, who is the deputy editor of The Verge. I'll have a very brief look at that. Oh. Okay, now what have I gone and done? Oh God, Bobos galore. Ooh.
Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're doing well tonight. Yeah, I'm here.
Right, okay, well, we've just got something which is not even remotely related to this particular thing. Okay, so, well, you can play them here or wherever when you follow the links. Basically, the deputy editor of The Verge, we have quite a few links to The Verge, actually. Good sort of regular, stable, long-term magazine. And yeah, they're talking about all the news of the week, basically, and interviewing their guests at the same time. I've just got a disappearing monitor on my other machine, but oh, good grief. I hope I'm still in world. Am I there, James?
Yeah, still here.
Okay. Well, from the look of my other machine, I think it's just crashed. It looks like it's taken me out of the world, but maybe it hasn't. So it's a unusual monitor, which I haven't.
My copy of the world shows you fine.
Right. Okay. It's probably gone to sleep mode, and it's giving me the. It's a multi-monitor that's actually attached to about 6 different CPUs or viewers. Right. Okay. I can worry about that later. It's Alexa, turn on room light. Very good. Still can't see. Sorry, folks. I'm just endeavouring to find the button on the darkened monitor that will allow me to get back to the actual monitor view that I wanted. I think if I press there, smart mode, it okay. It's probably, if I'm still on there, it's probably not essential. I will do this at the end. It's in a mood, obviously. Right, okay, so coming back to Mastodon, these are relayed to Twitter anyway. Week in XR podcast, as I said, Charlie Fink and Ted. Metaverse or Metaworse. This was very interesting. It hasn't. This is a live panel at BHUSA, whatever they were, and it takes you to LinkedIn. Oh God. I hate LinkedIn. Okay, well, you'll have to be interested to go there. They don't even allow embedding the video. Anyway, it is a panel discussion basically on the good, the bad, the ugly. Metaverse or Metaworse. Basically, you get the idea. But as you can see, attempting to get there is just even I've got an account and I've been taken to the login at LinkedIn, so forget LinkedIn really. Okay, I mentioned we had SIGGRAPH during the week. This was NVIDIA's special address at the beginning. There's the boss of NVIDIA, of course, and I mentioned this earlier that they've got their various announcements. This is the video version of all the announcements, basically, and you can click to play it here or move in. And August the 7th, that will make it about this time last week, wouldn't it? Yeah, Future Humans. CEO of the company called Journey. Sorry, not Germany, what do I mean? Andrew Zimmerman, and he's talking about Future Humans. And it's interesting, the presenter here is the avatar, and the guest is the RL camera. It's usually the other way around, isn't it, with these things? And yeah, then we're back to old stuff. As I said when I was showing the photos at the top of the show, Mixed Realities is having its summer break at the moment. And actually, I think basically the only one of the regular ones this week is XR. Oh, hang on. Something's happened here. Something has not got posted. And guess what it is? I'm going to reload the page. I hate it when this happens. Okay, I'm going to do a little. No, I'm going to have to do it afterwards. Mixed realities is there, but Upload VR did have one, and I remember having to catch up with it yesterday, and I posted it, but it's not on the list here. I have no idea why, so I'll have to handle that later.
Actually,
But
they didn't have one this week because they're at SIGGRAPH also.
oh,
They did.
oh well.
Yeah, they did a thing about exploring Mist, but that was a week ago.
Oh, okay. I'm just going to cheat here. I hope I'm not going to reveal anything I shouldn't.
Yeah, they haven't done anything for a week on their channel.
I'm switching to Discord here. I'm checking my. This isn't earthy. This is totally private at Discord, but I keep the same. Oh, well, there's the LinkedIn one, Metaverse or Metaverse. Oh, it does play on Discord.
Cyber criminals use the dark web to conduct illegal activities anonymously and privately.
Okay, I'm sorry you can't see that anyway, so I don't know why I'm doing that. Anyway, Metaverse and Metaverse and everything, the embed codes for those are working. And 9th of August, where are we? 7th of August, that was last week. Yeah, FGC sues Meta again.
Yep.
Okay, well, sorry. In that case, yeah, that's another one that wasn't there this week. So
if you're going to ask me, did I watch it last week? No, I didn't watch it last week.
Yeah, of course you did.
I'm slacking off. Not doing my job.
Oh dear. Never mind. Well,
I'm looking forward to the report from SIGGRAPH.
Yeah.
I've been to SIGGRAPH twice, and I really like it.
Have you?
Yeah, it's fun. Good time.
Yeah. Yeah, they always seem to, and yeah, with NVIDIA really taking it all by storm. But yeah, it should be good. I mean, there's only 1 week, but there's a lot they put online already. But it's a lot of hunting. I'm hoping they'll just do some highlight videos and stuff that we can better use that way, rather than try and hunt through everything that actually happened there. Anyway, right. So that is it for that. So I am. How long have we been on air? I can't tell here.
We are 1 hour and 31 minutes.
Right. Okay. So that's more reasonable. Okay. 5. That's 6 minutes. That's 4 minutes. And what's next for Tech's big bet on the Metaverse? That's 4 minutes too. I don't know. Okay. Well, we've got to the end of the main bit of the program. I've got 3 external clips here. They're not embeds from YouTube or anything. They're ones that have come from random sources in the week. Mostly American broadcasts, I think, but I'm going to run bits of them anyway, which probably give us an extra 10 minutes. But if you don't want to wait, you can go now. But yeah, you might like this stuff anyway. Let's have a look at this one. This is what's next for Big Tech's big bet.
It has been 9 months since Facebook renamed itself as Meta, and since then, the whole economy has suffered quite a pullback. So what does it mean for all the tech giants betting big on the Metaverse? That's the question of the morning. For the next 2 weeks, NBC Universal News Group's going inside the Metaverse. Today, Julia Borston joins us with more. Julia.
Well, Andrew, the recessionary pressures have made Metaverse plans less of a near-term priority. The tech giants, Meta, Apple, Google, Microsoft, continue to make long-term investments in hardware and software to bring consumers and companies into immersive 3D worlds. Since Meta's name change, the company has readied a web version of its Horizon World and a high-end VR headset, the Quest Pro, to launch later this year. Plus, it opened a retail store. But Meta has suffered some setbacks, reportedly delaying the release of AR glasses beyond 2024, and the FTC is looking to block its acquisition of a VR startup. Plus, it's burning billions of dollars on its Reality Labs division each quarter. But it's not just Meta. In the next year, we expect a battle brewing to sell new hardware. In addition to Meta's coming Quest Pro, along with its core Quest 2 headset, Apple is expected to release its mixed reality product as soon as the spring. It's already reportedly working with content creators such as Jon Favreau for the new format. Plus, Google is working on its own AR headset, reportedly for 2024, along with a new version of Google Glass. And Microsoft is continuing to work to expand its enterprise-focused HoloLens AR headset to more healthcare companies, manufacturers, and the like. And it says it's working on a consumer version as well. Now, venture investors see a growing opportunity in the metaverse, pouring $1.9 billion into the space. That's just so far this year. That's more than the amount invested in all of last year. But one question we're watching more near term is how much a recession could dampen interest in some of these high-end consumer devices. Andrew?
Hey there. The other thing that I think everyone is trying to figure out is this a winner-take-all market, and how important is the hardware piece of it versus the software piece of it?
I think the perception right now is that it's not a winner-take-all market, especially if you look at the fact that there are these enterprise devices, and then there are going to be more high-end devices for people who are maybe more serious gamers, and then less expensive devices that maybe cost a couple $100s for people who are more casual users of this format. So I think there could be a real variety in the types of headsets we see. But look, these are 4 tech giants. They're each going to be trying to play in this area in some space. Maybe 2 of them end up being leaders, but I do think there will be a variety of price points and sort of approaches to this VR, AR, metaverse.
You know I live on all of these gadget speculation gossip websites. So what do you think is going to happen with Apple this fall?
Well, you know, I was just discussing this and debating this with some of my West Coast colleagues. There's a thought that maybe we could get a peek at it. It could be that one more thing that we hear about at an Apple event this fall, and that would set it up to launch in the spring, but we may not hear about it until the spring. There's been so much speculation about this Apple headset. I think we may get a little peek at it, get a little bit of info before the end of the year. That would be my bet, but we really don't know.
And what do you think the price point's going to be? Because there's some of these sites think it's like thousands and thousands. You know, it's going to be super expensive, and then others think it's going to be, you know, at a price point that might be more mainstream.
Well, look, I don't have any inside information on the price point of what this will go for, but I do think that if you could price one of these in the sort of low $100 range, then it becomes a really mainstream consumer product. The one that Meta is working on, that's going to be more expensive. This high-end new one that was originally Project Cambria, that's now the Quest Pro, that's going to be more expensive. And I wouldn't be surprised if Apple comes to market with something that is in that higher-end range. But ultimately, for this to really become a mainstream technology, these devices are going to have to cost a couple $100s long-term.
Okay, interesting to get the to get the mainstream look of things here. Right, vying for Meta Millions. Oopsie daisy.
We are back with more of our special series, Inside the Metaverse. And this morning, an aspect of the online world that people have a lot of questions about, like we do. Why do you want to buy stuff that you can't hold or touch?
Yeah. It's a great question. Great question. Well, some very recognizable companies are investing very real money into this. Is it a glimpse into the future of shopping?
NBC senior consumer investigative correspondent Vicki Nguyen is going to help us make sense of this. We don't get it, so help us.
You will get it after watching this.
Okay,
Whether you'll want to do it, I can't promise. But you will get it. Good morning. If you are still confused about the metaverse, you are certainly not alone. But a lot of major name brand companies are betting big. They are already selling their wares in virtual worlds. So log on with me. I'm going to take you on a tour of the metaverse retail experience. How would you like to hang out with friends, attend concerts with stars like Travis Scott, Post Malone, and Ariana Grande, take yoga classes, and you guessed it, shop right from home? You can in the metaverse, a virtual online world.
I've purchased and acquired thousands of digital pieces of clothing.
Kevin Clark is an avid metaverse shopper. This is his avatar. He spends about 4 hours a day in the digital world.
This is just one of the many outfits that I have. I spent probably $5,000 to $8,000 just in the last 2 years.
That's money Kevin spent on clothes he only wears in the metaverse. Senior media and tech correspondent Julia Borston reports on the metaverse for CNBC. Why do you think people want to spend real money on digital assets, things they can't have in real life?
People are spending real money in the metaverse. They want to have an experience that's more like their real life experience, or in some ways,
maybe even better. Big name brands like Nike, Tommy Hilfiger, Hyundai, and Chipotle getting in early. One study predicts the metaverse will have $2 trillion in e-commerce value by 2030. Design firms are building polished metaverse storefronts like this one, provided exclusively to NBC News by interior architects. They say national brands hope to use these virtual spaces to attract real customers. So how does it work? For most users, it starts here on your phone or here on a computer. My metaverse journey begins on Roblox, a virtual world popular with pre-teens, but don't be fooled by the cartoonish appearance. There are more than 40 million daily active users, and this is where millions of dollars in virtual commerce is happening. Here I am. My tour guide is Shu Min Wee, a senior product manager at Roblox. That's her avatar, and there's mine. We start our virtual shopping spree at Gucci.
Okay, so
All right.
we are in the store, and much like a real life store, we have all of Gucci's different items really nicely merchandised. You'll see on the walls they have some of their homeware. The skateboards are on the wall, as well as the Blondie bags for sale, menswear, t-shirts as well.
What I like about this is it feels like you're actually in a store with these products around you.
Mel,
even
the
though
screen's
they're
gone
virtual.
blank.
I try on a few items. So I just bought a pair of sunglasses. Let's see what I look like.
Okay, yeah, something. I think my other monitor, by the way, has overheated. It's in a loop and it won't restart, so I'm going to have to let it cool out. Fortunately, it's a duplicate. On this monitor, there's a version of Windows on a different socket, so that's what's keeping me online. Okay, fine. One final one, and yeah, here we are. Some other mainstream bloke having a go at it. Right, step into the metaverse.
Last fall, Mark Zuckerberg announced Facebook would change its name to Meta. Zuckerberg saying at the time, from now on, we're going to be Metaverse first, not Facebook first. While there may have been some name-changing PR at play during a time of intense criticism of the company, it is clear Zuckerberg believes the future will be virtual, and his is just one of many major companies going meta. In our Sunday Spotlight, NBC's Gotti Schwartz reports on the effort to make the virtual closer to reality.
Beyond all the commercials and movies and video hyping up a digital future, there is a truly remarkable fact. After 2.6 million years on Earth, humans have begun to build a completely alternate universe. Welcome to the Metaverse, the internet's 3D iteration. For now, limited to a few games and platforms, but developers think it could become a future for social gatherings.
Give me a hug.
Yeah. Right, come here. If this looks or sounds weird, I promise you it gets even weirder when you put on a headset. Hi, I'm Gotti. Developers have been hard at work to make sure the virtual self you see is a full-body experience. And avatars have come a long way in recent years.
What we want to do in this is actually capture your whole body so that you actually are physically present in this metaverse world.
With Chris Harrison and his team at Carnegie Mellon's Future Interfaces Research Lab in Pittsburgh are looking beyond what you can see to what you can feel.
So this is really about touching. This is touching the metaverse, not just seeing it or hearing it.
Yeah, we're letting other people work on the looking, we're trying to do the touching.
So now my spatial awareness is like, okay. So here are my hands. And it's right in the soft spot, which kind of feels like a button.
Some are in the form of puppet-like gloves.
Hello, Mr. Lion.
Yeah, there you go.
Whoa. I can feel the contours of his face.
Others are a little more disconcerting.
Whoa. It's raining on my lips. What is going on?
The receptors on your lips are feeling the acoustic pressure from the ultrasound speakers.
You're touching my lips with sound?
Yes, with sound. We're adding up a bunch of sound waves on your lips. Do you want to try the other demos first?
With sight, touch, and hearing activated, the next obvious sense to tackle is smell.
So this is a very sweet earthy note that we use for our forest formulation.
At OVR Technology in Vermont, it's not just about getting a whiff from the woods.
Our sense of smell is influencing what we think, what we feel, how we behave, and even who we love.
There is a deep primal psychology at play that developers hope can help patients like Mike of the River Rock Treatment Center dealing with depression and substance abuse.
If you can just like change what you're seeing, smelling, and hearing like very quickly, I think that'll change your mood pretty fast as well.
You might smell something that is pleasant to you, and you immediately feel a sense of happiness. If you are aware that the body feels better, the body will secrete those very chemicals you need to make yourself feel better.
Engaging as many senses as possible to let us further explore the way we perceive reality.
I am most excited about the future. All the demos you're seeing today are going to be commercialized and be commercial products in 5 or 10 years.
Wow. For Sunday Today, Gotti Schwartz, Pittsburgh.
Gotti, thank you very much. You can learn more about this new virtual world of the future all week in our NBC News series, Inside the Metaverse.
So, I think it's a bit more there, but anyway, I saved the best to last, because actually that is fascinating. It covers the smell and the taste and the vision and the sound. Basically, all our 5 senses plus empathy, if that is a sense, maybe. They're all rolled into one, and they're going to be there electronically. It's going to bring new meaning to the old days. 20 years ago, you go into Second Life and you sit at a table and there's fake drinks and fake food on it, and you talk, pretending you're having dinner together or something. But the reality is, it sounds like, well, I don't know about, you still have to consume the food and drink separately, but you can imagine the virtual world will show you an exact replica of what you got on your dinner plate in front of you, so you can eat it and basically mirror what you're doing in the virtual world. So as you pick up a potato, you do the same in the real world, and you know it's potato. I don't know. It's just too much, or too much, or too soon. Okay. So interesting there. Right. So James, any thoughts on? We've got a few extras there, of course, but basically on everything else from today, so to speak.
Oh no, nothing in particular.
I did finally, because you mentioned this last week, I did finally get to watch We Met In.
Oh, you did? Okay.
So that was a kind of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just actually trying to see if I have the... I don't think I've got the drive mounted to... well, anyway, I shouldn't load it here anyway. I had mixed feelings about it. It was actually well executed. I just had a few technical questions, which I always do. Sometimes the camera seemed quite steady, other times it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the shots were flickering, the avatars were flickering.
Mm-hmm. And
I wondered if that was an artifact in the world or in the camera work. And, I couldn't tell. What was this good camera work in a faulty world? Or was this a good world with faulty camera work?
Upload VR had an interview with the maker. And the person described that they took a couple of existing in-world cameras, but then they were highly customized. And so it would be curious to know more about those, about that screen recording tool that was being used.
Yeah,
it had an interesting handheld camera feel to it, which was quite interesting.
Yeah, that's the bit I sort of noticed when I'm not talking about the flicker with the avatars at times, but sometimes it felt like a bit of a drone cam, really smooth, and then other times it sort of changed angle a bit, like you thought the guy is actually holding a camera. So
right.
I mean, maybe it could have been filmed from a screen, part of it from a screen and part from inside virtual reality, and then mixed together. Rather hard to tell, really. But I didn't personally. I didn't find VR chat, especially what they chose to show, to be that interesting. Although what I know you've told me this many times. What was when I actually saw a few of the scenes where you had a visually rich rendered landscapes and things in VR chat. I thought, oh, that doesn't really look like VR chat. And then, but then of course, some silly avatar walks into view, and you think, yeah, that's VR chat. But yeah, I mean, it's good. Sort of be interesting to know what HBO's viewer ratings are and stuff for that. It's not. It hasn't been shown officially in the UK yet. I watched it ultimately from America, but yeah, I mean, HBO's quite a big company, so you know. How many people would put on a remote tuned to HBO and clicked on, oh, that looks like an interesting watch, which I think is basically the only place you could see it is on a stream.
Right.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting. It's a bit like those last few clips I've been showing there. You know, I pilfered them, as it were, from real world broadcasts. But it's interesting to see the mainstream, as it were, taking a sort of interest, and like some of them, like today's, actually sort of more, you know, they'd obviously have researchers briefing them on what they were talking about, but they did sort of have this right overview, and then others are, you know, similar broadcasts are way off on a tangent of their own.
Right.
And, you know, sort of, you know, the stories and stuff that were featured in VR chat, I think was, you know, living in VR chat. It was clear from the outset that it was set in VR chat, so it wasn't like we, you know, living in the metaverse or stuff. But yeah, I'd like to see something, you know, I'd like to see a mainstream production like that, which included sections and footage from a lot of different virtual worlds. You know, because people have been meeting in Second Life for 20 years, you know, and other successive places down the line. And there was something a wee bit corny about, you know, some of the descriptions of relationships and things. It was really, of course, they really only just highlighted a few. And I think there was one woman in one of the relationships was driving me up the wall every time she spoke.
Oh, okay.
But you know, that's just me. You know, I guess. Oh God, I wouldn't want to eat that one. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, good to see mainstream coverage of this sort of stuff. And
I don't know if it's mainstream. I mean, you know, it's HBO, but I mean, it was a independent film shown at Sundance Film Festival, and you know, it's just kind of found its way into the.
But HBO is fairly endemic, isn't it, in the States?
Fairly what?
Endemic, and it's fairly commonplace.
It's suffering, and there's a lot of debate whether HBO is going to continue.
Okay, because I think of it as one of the original cable companies.
It was, yeah, one of the original.
Like nationwide. I mean, there were always local.
It was a movie channel, you know, so cable companies subscribe to HBO to get the content.
I suppose the whole
an aggregator
has changed. Yeah. Oh well, I see quite a few things from HBO, and they do tend to be good. Mind you, I pick and choose, obviously, but there are. I must admit, look at the American market of streaming stuff. Although Britain's getting as bad. There are just too many companies, you know, busy at it. Disney and Paramount, I think, have joined together within a few weeks now. And although what I'm seeing over here could be different, Sky have launched in the UK something that they merged with somebody else. I mean, it was beginning to look like there were just too many providers, and then people like Virgin, you know, who are traditional cable, you know, at least you can get packages that include everything in them, but they come at quite a cost, you know. Sort of, I don't know, you know, when prices are rising and everything else. I mean, okay, you subscribe to Paramount, Disney because they got your thing, but oh shit, you know, you want to subscribe to Netflix for this other thing. And then there's something else on HBO, and you've got to make your mind up. And you know, let's say I like science fiction, which I do, fantasy I do. You know, there's quite a few good things around, But in terms of the American broadcasters, I mean, they're scattered around. Some are on Amazon, some are on HBO, some are on Apple TV, some are on Disney and Paramount, now merged. You can't subscribe to all of them. And if you only subscribe to one of them, you're actually not very well served, you know, for, say, science fiction, you know. You get your new Lord of the Rings on Amazon next week, and I don't think they've got anything else of interest at the moment. So I don't know. It does seem to be that there's going to have to be, in the UK anyway, there will have to be a shake-up because people can't afford all these subscriptions. And you know, it's been the case. BT have got into the act now, and they're upsetting it. You know, they're trying to monopolise sport. You know, and sport has always been big in television. You know, so there's the BBC versus the independent television. Now they're all at war with BT, who, you know, take all their ill-earned money and, you know, pay high prices.
Is it time for some regulation?
Yeah. But you won't get it out of this government. Not that
we got USB standards out of the European Union anyway.
Oh, EU actually, yeah. That they have the sort of power to you know, move around a bit on some things.
Yep.
Oh, great! My monitor's turned back on. I suddenly found a stray prim above the screen here. Is that? That's not a light of yours or anything, is it?
No. Well, so I wonder if we should sign off.
Yes. Okay. I've taken it away, whatever it was.
Okay.
Fussbot I am. Yes, of course. Right. Okay, folks. Well, I hope you've had fun. I think we're still under 2 hours, but I did give you the option of staying with us for the last little few clips, didn't I? We'll be back same time next week, hopefully with the same limit on jumping into the rabbit holes and everything else, and with more interesting news clips and everything else we can throw at you in 90 minutes or a bit more. Over here in Britain, we are literally melting, but the good news is that by tomorrow it's going to start cooling off again. So any of you still alive in the heat, do join us again. No, it has gotten noticeably cooler just while we've been on air, which is a great relief. So keep safe, everybody. Avoid the viruses and everything else. Wear your masks. Stay indoors. Actually, oddly enough, you probably want to stay indoors to avoid the sun at the moment. Yeah, all the rest of it, but just basically keep yourselves well and join us again next week. If you want replays and everything, check out Mal Burns' account on YouTube, and you'll find replays of all our programs from evermore, almost. A long time indeed. Right, okay, and now as you can see, my screensaver's just come on at this end. So that's an indicator that is saying, okay, Mal, call it a day.
Time to go.
Call it a day.
Sure.
Right, so it's goodbye from me, it's goodbye from James, because XR, VR, blah, 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 blah. Ooh.
I can't do it.
We are with you on that one. Okay, bye for now.